Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Rewind Review, and in this episode I'm going to be talking about the 1995 animated Pixar classic Toy Story. This was one of my favorite films growing up. I remember being very little, maybe about 2 or 3 years old, and I had saved up some money from birthdays or something, and I remember purchasing my very first Buzz Lightyear. It was maybe about $40. This was back when Toys R Us was still a thing in the States, and this film has always just kind of been very important to me, so much like the Aladdin video, I'm going to try to take a look at this thing objectively. I know that I'm going to have a lot of nostalgia looking back on this film. I rewatched this movie in preparation for this episode, and I was still smiling like I did when I was a kid. So without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, so right off the bat, the animation, for the most part, is still very good. It holds up. The toys, they look great. The humans and Scud, the dog, a couple of the background elements, they don't look that great. They look a little plasticky, very rubbery, not as naturalistic as Pixar would later prove to be able to master. But I'm not really going to fault the film for that. I just wanted to point that out, that it doesn't really hold up as well animation wise in some areas, but you gotta remember that this was the very first feature-length film that was done entirely in a computer. And looking back on it almost 25 years later, a majority of it still holds up. A lot of the character animation is very smooth, very fluid. There's a lot of nice facial expressions going on, very subtle movements with the eyes and the mouths and just the muscles in the face just really communicate a lot about these characters. The voice acting is still top notch. I have a hard time even now separating Tom Hanks and Tim Allen from their roles, and it might just be because I grew up with them, but this is an example of perfect voice casting and then matching that with fantastic character design. Tim Allen's voice absolutely fits with Buzz Lightyear. Tom Hanks absolutely fits with the character design for Woody. It's just a perfect match. Even the side characters have pretty great voice actors. I forgot who did Slinky Dog. I know he's since passed away. Don Rickles was Mr. Potato Head. They still do great performances, and it's really hard to see those characters. Just like if you were to pull up an image of like Rex or something, I would have a hard time not picturing his voice in my head. It's just so iconic. The voice acting is top notch. The plot of Toy Story is one that I don't really think I need to go into too much. It's pretty well known. A lot of people have seen Toy Story. It's not like this is some indie film. But the story structure itself is very tight, very cohesive, and much like Aladdin, it really does not have a lot of filler. And that's one of the great things about animated films, because it takes so long to do all this animation, because there are so many time and budget constraints. The story really needs to be concise, because if you have lots of filler scenes, you're just wasting time and money. Characters and character motivations are perfectly defined. There's a lot of character growth, both from Buzz and Woody, and then they grow as a team. It's small little things like that that really enhance the quality of the script. The humor, for the most part, still works. There aren't really a lot of 90s-isms, and there's a lot of really good sight gags. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen definitely have an amazing chemistry that we've seen throughout the other two films and soon to be in the fourth film, and they really work well together. I'm glad that they chose these two actors. Tom Hanks plays the perfect straight man in this film, and Tim Allen is just over the top, not in a bad way. He really buys this. When he's going on about his space missions and fighting Emperor Zurg, you genuinely believe him, and you know you shouldn't, because we know that he's a toy, but he delivers it with such sincerity that it makes you really want to believe what he's actually saying is true. Even when he's first introduced and he's doing the spiel with the laser beams and the wings and his spaceship, part of you takes him seriously because he doesn't deliver it in a goofy way. He's very serious, but I don't know, it's so weird to explain. It just works. I really don't have anything else to say. This is genuinely a great film. Sure, there are things that you could nitpick, but I really don't see much here that's worth commenting on. The ending is great. There's resolution for the characters. There's resolution for the story. You have introduction of elements that pay off later. You have great dynamics between the characters. You have comedy that works. It's a great film. I'm going to give Toy Story an A-. Of course, this would set the standard for, well, a majority of future Pixar films. And I'm really glad that they started with this one, and I'm really glad that this film came out right around the time that I was born, because I grew up on this movie. It's so weird that we're about to get a fourth one. I'll get into my thoughts on that maybe in a later video. This has been around for almost 25 years, almost as long as I have been around. I can't imagine my life without Toy Story. That's all I got for you. I'll see you in the next one.